I never thought God would choose me. I was just an ordinary girl. My name is Esther, although that wasn't the name I was born with. My Hebrew name was Hadassah. I lost both of my parents when I was very young. I don't remember much about them anymore, only the love they left behind. After they died, my cousin Mordecai became my father, my teacher, and my protector. We were Jews living in the Persian Empire, far away from the land our ancestors once called home. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. I never imagined that my ordinary life was about to change forever. One day, King Xerxes removed Queen Vashti from her throne. Soon after, a decree was announced across the empire. Beautiful young women were to be brought to the king's kingdom. I was one of them. I didn't get to choose. As I left my home behind, I had no idea that God was beginning a story that would change my life and the lives of my people. Everything happened so fast. One day I was simply Hadassah. The next, I was walking through the palace gates. Everything sparkled with gold. The hallways were grand beyond anything I had ever imagined. Servants hurried through the corridor. To everyone else, it looked like a dream. But to me, it felt like I had lost my home. Before I entered the palace, Mordecai gave me one instruction. Do not tell anyone you are Jewish. So I kept my identity hidden. Every day, Mordecai came near the palace just to hear news about me. Even though I couldn't see him, knowing he was there gave me hope. I didn't understand why any of this was happening, but looking back now, God was already preparing the path ahead. Before anyone could meet the king, she had to complete 12 months of preparation, 12 long months. Some of the women dreamed about wearing the crown. I simply tried to remain humble. The chief official, Hagar, treated me with unexpected kindness and gave me favor. When the day finally came to stand before the king, I didn't ask for expensive jewelry or special ornaments. I trusted the advice I was given. As I walked down the throne, my heart beat faster than ever before. Everything was about to change. When I stood before King Xerxes, he looked at me with kindness. Out of all the women in the empire, he chose me. He placed the royal crown upon my head. I became queen. But there was one secret no one in the palace knew. I was Jewish. Only Mordecai and I knew the truth. And at the time, I didn't understand why my identity had to remain hidden. One day, that secret will save an entire nation. Not long after I became queen, Mordecai discovered something frightening. Two palace guards were secretly planning to assassinate the king. He immediately sent word to me, and I reported everything to the king in Mordecai's name. The investigation proved it was true, and the king's life was saved. Everything was carefully written in the royal records. But strangely, Mordecai received no reward. It seemed forgotten. But sometimes what feels forgotten is simply waiting for God's perfect timing. Then a powerful man named Haman rose to become the king's highest official. Everyone bowed before him. Everyone except Mordecai. He refused to bow because his loyalty belonged to God alone. Haman's pride became hatred. When he discovered Mordecai was Jewish, he wasn't satisfied with destroying one man. He wanted every Jew in the empire wiped out. He convinced the king to sign a decree. One signature, and our entire nation was marked for destruction, including me, though no one yet knew I was one of them. When Mordecai learned about the decree, he sent a message I will never forget. He reminded me that living in the palace would not protect me forever. Then he said these unforgettable words. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Those words changed everything. Approaching the king without being invited could mean death. I was afraid, but I knew I couldn't remain silent, so I sent this message back. Gather all the Jews and fast for 3 days. Then I made my decision. If I perish, I perish. After 3 days of fasting, I put on my royal robes. Every step towards the throne room felt heavier than the last. The law was clear. Anyone who entered the king's presence without being summoned could be put to death. I stood before him, holding my breath. Then something happened I will never forget. The king smiled. He stretched out his golden scepter towards me. My life had been spared, but my mission had only just begun. Instead of revealing everything immediately, I invited the king and Haman to a banquet. Meanwhile, Haman was so filled with hatred that he built a massive gallows to execute Mordecai. But that very night, the king couldn't sleep. He ordered the royal records to be read. That's when he discovered Mordecai had once saved his life and had never been rewarded. Everything was about to change. At the second banquet, the king asked me once more what I wanted. This time, I could no longer remain silent. I told him who I really was. I am Jewish. Then I revealed Haman's wicked plan to destroy my people. The king was furious. Haman was sentenced to die on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. Then the king remembered the man who had once saved his life. The very honor Haman had hoped to receive was given to Mordecai instead. He was dressed in the king's royal robes, placed upon the king's own horse, and led through the streets of Shushan as the king's officials proclaimed, "This is what is done for the man the king delights to honor." Soon after, Mordecai was promoted to Haman's position and became one of the highest officials in the kingdom. A new decree was issued allowing the Jewish people to defend themselves. What was meant for our destruction became our deliverance. Looking back, I can see that God was working even when I couldn't. He used an orphan girl. He used waiting. He used hidden seasons. He used courage. He honored the faithful. And he reminded me that no moment of our lives is ever wasted when we trust him. Maybe he's writing your story too.